Hello, welcome. Welcome. This is the global community for adults who are healing CPTSD. My name is Athena, and I'll be facilitating our time together tonight. And if you're new here, we are a community of adults who are healing CPTSD, and we've all been showing up here together for about 12 years now. I believe it's over 12 years, but it's either almost 12 years or over 12 years. So I'm very, very glad to be here with you tonight. Before we get started, I just want to make sure that you know that so on this channel, we do spend our time together weekly, about once a week, and we spend about an hour together, sometimes less, sometimes more. And what we're doing right now is we're doing a guided read through Pete Walker's most recent book titled Holistically Treating Complex PTSD, a Six-Dimensional Approach. And this is also a live stream, and it's a community open discussion. So it's like a meetup. And what that means is over in our chat box, which I believe you'll have access to on a replay if you're here after the fact. But if you're here during the live stream, you'll see a chat box somewhere on your screen, and we all come here and show up here together and check in with one another. And there should be, if you're here on a replay, down in the comments section, one of our community members will likely have written something along the lines of the book read through begins at 10 minutes and 30 seconds into the video, or something like that. And that is so that you, if you're listening on a replay and you are not able to be here during our live stream, so that you are able to easily fast forward to the part that perhaps you clicked on this video for. And secondly, before we get started, I wanted to let you know that there are thumbnails. Week 1, Week 2, and Week 3 should have similar posts in the comment sections for you. And tonight we are going to be covering page 52 all the way through to the end of chapter 1, which is the end of page 59. So it's a shorter evening together that we have this evening. But regardless of the time and whether it's a short evening or a long evening, because like I said, sometimes it's about an hour, sometimes longer. Tonight will be a bit shorter. But I just wanted to give you a heads up that is a way in which you could participate in this channel. Either show up 7 p.m. Eastern every Monday and check in with our greater trauma community, or this YouTube channel is made possible by the Foundation for Post-Traumatic Healing and Complex Trauma Research, also known as CPTSDfoundation.org. There is a link in the chat box. There's also a link in the description of this video. So thank you for your presence. Without further delay, I do want to check in with everyone before we get started. And before I do that, I want to wish a very happy birthday to my recovery buddy, Ninja Taco. Ninja Taco is on our Blue Wrench crew, along with John Harvey and Jeffrey Sherman, who are moderators on this channel, making sure that our chat stream stays a safe enough space for our community members to show up. So a very happy birthday to you, Ninja Taco. Thank you for being my recovery buddy for all these years. I'm very grateful for your presence in my life, and I'm just wishing you the very best the next trip around the sun, the next 365 days. I hope it's your most favorite. And we are all very grateful that we get to heal right alongside you and that you choose to be here with us every week, month after month, year after year, for a lot of years now. So thank you very much. And a very special thank you to Jeffrey Sherman and John Harvey as well for always being here and for making sure that the chat stream is a safe space. And now I would like to just warmly welcome you, if you are here, to spend time with us this week and check in and let us know how you're doing. Warm welcome to you, Kitty. So glad to see you, as always. Warm welcome to you, Karen. And again, Ninja Taco, John Harvey, Jeffrey Sherman. And hello to you, Jen and Nadine. Hello, this be me. And hello to, my chat box is moving really, really, really fast, and I'm, one second. Well, hello to anyone I didn't get a chance to greet by name. Hello, Lisa Marie. Hello, dear family. Thank you for being here, Lisa Marie. Thank you all very much. Yeah, thank you for being here. So I'm going to begin our reading this evening. But yeah, I really do just want to, I know I say this quite often, but I want to say just how impactful and meaningful it is that we have this community and that we all choose to come here and show up and check in with one another as often as we do. It makes a huge difference in my life, and I really appreciate it very much. And I'm feeling rather emotional today. I'm going to go ahead and begin our reading. And I want to check in with you before I begin. And I just want to make sure that the volume is okay. The background music is not too loud. My voice isn't too soft. And I want to make sure you can hear me okay. I'm going to be reading probably from about right here. So if you can hear me from about right here, can you let me know? Oh my goodness, someone's iguana. Something's going on with the iguanas? Oh, Jen says iguanas climb the trees and fall out of them when it gets cold because they get too cold. Oh, poor little iguanas. Yeah. Oh, Jen says, I guess it's a normal thing here in Florida. I'm not from here. Oh, hello, Jennifer. Jennifer and Jen, thank you both for letting me know about the volume. Thank you, John Harvey. Oh, Jeffrey says, it's a little soft, but we could all use a little softness in the family. Oh, here, let me see if I can move just a tiny bit closer. This Mimi says, I hear you fine. Thank you very much. Okay, let me see if I can angle. There we go. All right, so we are at the top of page 52 in a subsection titled, The Therapy Light Mental Health Cartel Eviscerates Modern Psychotherapy. And again, this is page 52 of Pete Walker's most recent book, Holistically Treating Complex PTSD, a Six-Dimensional Approach. And if someone could please note in the comment section of the video that the reading of our book this evening begins right around 10 minutes in, and we will go ahead and get started. And thank you all so much for your presence. Again, top of page 52 in a subsection titled "The Therapy Light Mental Health Cartel Eviscerates Modern Psychotherapy." And this is Pete Walker speaking, not me. I'm reading his words. He says, "Let me restate that relational developmental arrests are the most entrenched and hindering symptoms of developmental trauma and CPTSD. Many survivors spend their whole lives without ever experiencing supportive comfort from themselves or anyone else. Yet, effective complex PTSD therapy is difficult to find. I believe that this stems largely from a collusion in the mental health care industry between big pharma, health insurance providers, and the American Psychiatric Association, the APA, which is, in parentheses, what I call the cartel. End quote, end parentheses. And that's by Pete Walker. He says, "While I do not know whether this is a planned or tacit collusion, I believe that these powerful institutions thwart survivors from getting the effective long-term therapy that is needed for significant recovery. The APA has repeatedly refused to accept CPTSD as a diagnosis, and this makes the United States the only country in the world that does not. Once again, the rest of the world recognizes CPTSD as F43.10 in the International Classification of Diseases, 11th edition, revised. Our society owes better assistance to those who have been so unfairly traumatized in their childhoods, especially as society largely turns a blind or minimizing eye to the conditions that breed trauma, such as poverty, racism, sexism, and an economic power structure that is steadily widening the gap between the haves and the have-nots. Shockingly, the middle class, alongside biodiversity, forests, clean water, and clean air, is disappearing at an alarming rate. Let me note here, however, that developmental trauma, CPTSD, is not confined to the disenfranchised. Traumatizing parenting is sadly common within all countries, ethnicities, regions, and socioeconomic groups. Top of page 53 in a subsection titled "The Model of, quote, cured in 8 sessions or get medicated," end quote. In order to make even more billions with a B, it seems that the cartel is increasingly limiting its insurees to 8 sessions of therapy. In a further money-making turn, patients are frequently referred to psychiatrists for medication when 8-session therapy does little to remedy symptoms. Even worse, still struggling survivors are then forced and shamed into accepting the bitter pill of noxious medicinal side effects along their unrelieved CPTSD symptoms. The insurance The insurance companies that deny long-term therapy then extend their growing profits to big pharma and most of the psychiatrists of the APA, who are increasingly becoming medical technicians who seldom do anything psychologically therapeutic. Hopeful news that may end this limitation is contained in John Silimpapris's article in The Therapist, May and June edition 2022. In his article, he summarizes this new addition to the DSM 5-TR Prolonged Grief Disorder F43.8, which has the potential to legitimize long-term therapy for complex PTSD, which is, after all, the ultimate prolonged grief disorder. Fittingly, this book repeatedly emphasizes the all-important role of grieving in CPTSD recovery, especially as this new DSM diagnosis includes the common DTD/CPTSD symptoms of, quote, identity disruption, feeling as though part of oneself has died, aka developmental arrests, intense emotional pain, difficulty with reintegration, problems engaging with friends, emotional numbness, feeling that life is meaningless, intense loneliness, and feeling detached from others. End quote. Bottom of page 53. Here is how Pappas concludes his article. And by the way, if you are John Pappas and I am mispronouncing your name, I sincerely apologize. Again, bottom of page 53. Here's how Pappas concludes his article. Quote, this diagnosis may give sufferers more access to mental health care and inspire enhanced cooperation with insurance carriers for future reimbursement, end quote. He also refers a great deal to the relevance of trauma to this diagnosis, top of page 54, by summarizing some of Bessel van der Kolk's conclusions in his book, The Body Keeps the Score. Therefore, I beseech my fellow members of the California Association of Marriage and Family Therapists to urge our organization, the CAMFT, to pressure insurance companies to provide more comprehensive coverage for complex trauma. Let me also note here that until something changes, the current limitations of insurance-funded sessions can be somewhat ameliorated with the options outlined in the section at the end of Chapter 4 titled Additional Resources to Supplement Psychotherapy. Middle of page 54 in a subsection titled The Scarcity of Good Enough CPTSD Therapists. Society's failure to care for all of our citizens has led to a morally reprehensible shrinking of professional mental health resources. A particularly unconscionable factor in this domain is the widespread practice in many psychotherapy training programs of teaching prospective therapists to deter clients from examining their pasts. Just as execrable, I don't know that word, is, I'm sure what he's trying to say is like just as ridiculous or horrible, is the practice of schooling budding therapists to discourage clients from having strong emotional responses in sessions. Such emotional neglect precludes the powerful healing that comes from the processes of grieving the losses of childhood, which are absolutely essential to working through past trauma. There is a great deal of guidance in chapters 4 and 8 on safely aiding survivors to grieve through their monumental childhood losses. For example, to cry and express anger about being traumatized when they were defenseless children. Top of page 55 in a subtitle, in a book's part of the book subtitled, a subsection of the book titled Therapists Who Bypass the Work of Remediating Childhood Abuse and Neglect. Not surprisingly, all too many survivors have contacted me to report that they cannot find a therapist to help them, on the complex journey of recovering. Even worse, many tell me of therapists who have shamed them for not just choosing to get over their past and for complaining about the traumatic parental abuse and neglect of their childhoods. Just as bad as being pressured to simply, quote, get over it, is the fact that many survivors are guilt-tripped into continuing to accept the abusive behavior from their parents. Numerous survivors have bemoaned to me various versions of their therapists telling them, "Don't take it so seriously. They can't help it. They're old. You know they really love you." Such therapists often goad their clients to, quote, just forgive their parents no matter what, and turn the other cheek. Forgiveness heals all wounds. And to this advice, I occasionally say something like, not if they keep hitting you with the contemptuous language that further bruises your psyche, which is already sore and inflamed by the virulent inner critic that they installed. Tragically, there are no academic institutions that I know of where therapists are being trained to holistically treat CPTSD survivors. I hope I am wrong about this. How wantonly this ignores the sage advice of Carl Jung. Wholeness is not achieved by cutting off a portion of one's being, but by integration of the contraries. End quote. Bottom of page 55. Let me end this section with an important and hopeful caveat. I have heard from or about a significant number of, quote, good enough therapists who work multidimensionally with trauma by specializing in internal family systems therapy, schema therapy, Hakomi therapy, John Bradshaw's work, or psychosynthesis. Nonetheless, it is still wise to ask a potential therapist of any of these approaches whether they have done their own family of origin recovery work. Top of page 56 in a subsection titled Fast Fix Therapy. Therapists everywhere are being pressured to bypass working on the past. And to my mind, this contradicts the fact that for those with untreated developmental trauma disorder and CPTSD, the past is not the past. It is an old, entrenched network of neural and behavioral patterns that plagues untreated survivors in the present. Without effective treatment, these patterns will continue to plague them in the future. Appallingly, there are not nearly enough seasoned and holistic CPTSD recovery guides to aid untreated survivors. Effective treatment is still largely unavailable for those who are still continuously being re-traumatized by the unremediated effects of their childhoods. The travesty of the dominant paradigm's quick fix imperatives live on, and so many budding therapists remain trapped in denial and minimization about their own childhood trauma and CPTSD. This, in turn, causes them to aid and abet their clients' denial. I was guilty of this myself in my early years as a therapist. This is Pete Walker speaking. And he says, and I still sometimes cringe at how this must have negatively affected my earliest clients. Now, I also cringe at the emails I regularly get from dismayed survivors about therapists who have no idea how to help them. Now, as fewer and fewer therapists do their own recovery work, most of them and their misled clients flock to the weak refuges of ever-proliferating fast-fix approaches. Once again, they are further driven into this by the insurance industry's Scrooge-like approach to funding effective therapy. This, in turn, reinforces widespread societal denial and minimization of the traumatizing parenting practices that continuously spread throughout the world. Top of page 57. Tragically, this is creating an epidemic of emotionally neglected children who are increasingly abandoned to the cyber nipple of LCD and LED screens for comfort and connections. Readers from every continent and over 60 countries have validated and thanked me for how accurately my CPTSD book describes how they were injured in childhood and how they can recover from that. Parenting practices continue to deteriorate globally via the widely spreading delusion that occasional quality time with children can replace the security that they can only get from quantity time. I once heard renowned traumatologist John Briere quip that if CPTSD were given its due and the role of the traumatizing childhoods in adult psychological disorders was ever fully recognized, the DSM used by mental health professionals in this country would shrink to the size of a thin pamphlet. It currently resembles a large dictionary. The Psychological Care and Healing Center in Los Angeles critiques the DSM with these words, quote, "Of the 297 mental disorders listed in the DSM-5, almost all of them lack any scientific basis to begin with. The DSM-5 promotes the idea that for most psychological disorders, there is a genetic component, yet there is no known gene variant for about 97% of diagnoses. Exclamation point, end quote. Nonetheless, the genetic theory of mental disorders is still widely used, especially by members of the cartel, to deny the role that traumatizing childhoods play in creating mental disorders. A disgraceful consequence of this is that many survivors with developmental trauma disorder and CPTSD have been underdiagnosed with various anxiety and depressive disorders. In addition, many survivors have been unfairly and inaccurately labeled with hard-to-treat diagnoses such as narcissistic and borderline personality disorders. These diagnoses can only be caused by childhood trauma. This DSM charade of science is like the blind man and the elephant metaphor, top of page 58, whereby the core wound of the declining elephant in a suffocating cage is missed as the blind examiner declares that the canker on its leg is caused by anxiety, and another examiner says that the crook in its tail comes from depression. And the third one states that its broken tusk indicates a lack of willingness to change. My experience, and this is Pete Walker speaking, and that of my trauma-informed colleagues, of which I am one, is that the role of the cage of a traumatized childhood in most psychological disorders is enormous, and the diagnosis of CPTSD is missed a great deal of the time, disguising the fact that it is rampant in our culture. Middle of page 58 in a subsection titled The Salvation Fantasy in CPTSD. R.D. Laing quipped that, quote, "The only pain that can be avoided is the pain that comes from trying to avoid unavoidable pain," end quote. I believe that pain is often 90% of most of survivors' pain, and that the lion's share of that 90% is untreated CPTSD, comes from being stranded in learned self-abandonment and alienation from others. I'm going to reread that paragraph because I think someone besides me needs to hear it again. R.D. Laing quipped that the only pain that can be avoided is the pain that comes from trying to avoid unavoidable pain. This is Pete Walker speaking, believe that pain is often 90% of most survivors' pain, and that the lion's share of that 90% in untreated CPTSD comes from being stranded in learned self-abandonment and alienation from others. Working through this pain is especially problematic in a culture where showing one's pain is like getting a scarlet P tattooed on one's forehead. More and more, expressing pain is seen by both sufferers and witnesses as evidence of a fatal flaw. Little wonder that untreated survivors adapt by suppressing their pain at all costs, distracting themselves from it, hiding it, running from it, dissociating from it, medicating it. In the world of psychotherapy, this has also been a factor in the growing trend to offer permanent, simplistic cures to victims of complex PTSD, cures that typically ignore the layered, multidimensional complexity of childhood trauma damage and still stalled developmental arrests. Most modern approaches are especially prone to ignore the relational and emotional levels of developmental deficits, which typically cannot be helped without extended therapy. Many new hybrids of cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, now offer simplistic formulas to bypass the necessity of learning to accept and work effectively with one's emotional pain. These approaches typically avoid and even disapprove of the emotional and relational depth work that is essential to recovering. Especially dangerous and countertherapeutic are spiritual bypass hybrids that combine CBT positive thinking with mindfulness, like an Eastern spiritual practice, into a salvation fantasy that enshrines absolute, unmitigated gratitude and forgiveness as a panacea for all pain. And while practicing gratitude is a powerful adjunct to restoring positive noticing to the wounded psyche, it is extremely stultifying to recovery when it is used as an antidote to deny, minimize, and shame the reality of the lingering effects of childhood trauma and the normality of periodic experiences of existential suffering in life. And that concludes chapter 1. Whew. Thank you, Uncle Pete. My goodness. As you all can probably tell, I'm particularly fired up, just continuously and understandably outraged by the lack of complex trauma informedness that there is being offered in the world. I would like to especially thank those practitioners, researchers, and trauma pioneers who continue to do what they can to get CPTSD included in the DSM, what will be the 6th edition. Among those are Dr. Bessel van der Kolk, I believe Stephen Porges, perhaps even Peter Levine, Dan Siegel, Judith Herman for sure, and so many more. And every single word that Pete Walker is speaking in this book to the hearts of each and every one of us here. I don't know how many of us are here tonight during the live stream due to time zones and such. I do know that like between 1 and 300 of you re-listen to the replays every single week. And I know that there are tens of thousands of you that are subscribed to this channel that occasionally come and binge for a week or two at a time. And you send me messages. So I'm grateful that there are a handful of us who are not sleeping through this. And Pete Walker has given us a framework, an alternative textbook for all future trauma therapists and helpers and coaches and practitioners and counselors and anyone who would care. And I'm so grateful. I'm so very, very grateful that we get to have access to resources that will actually help us and that we choose, many of us weekly, and some of us daily, choose to show up for ourselves and pause and acknowledge what it is that's actually going on and validate what's going on within us and warmly witness one another and fully acknowledge those around us who are healing, choosing to show up for themselves and validating whatever feelings might be coming up for them, wherever they might be on any given day, and acknowledging their unique lived experience. Because your pain, if you can hear my voice right now, your pain is legitimate, it's real, it's valid. And I know that I'm not super zen, calm, peaceful Athena tonight. I'm pretty fired up. But I believe that it's necessary. It's necessary for you to know that I care and that I am committed to making sure that this work continues and the word gets out. Because having spaces like this where we are warmly welcomed, warmly witnessed in the pain that we might be experiencing on any given day, acknowledged for our unique contribution to this community, validated in whatever feelings we might be having on any given day, the fact that we can each come here and feel safe enough, we feel seen, heard, valued, understood, we're able to spend time here together. We have such a gift of being able to, beyond the scope of geography, and we're not able to be in a physical room together, but we've been showing up here in this virtual room together for 12 years. And I've been doing this, that's weekly. And then I've been doing this daily for, I guess it's like 8 years now. We were trying to do the math earlier today during our daily recovery support. I believe it's around 8 years. Every day for 8 years, every day. So if you are one of the people that Pete is talking about in chapter 1, and you're going to therapy and you're being told that you need to just hurry up and forgive, and the past is in the past and what's wrong with you and you should be over it, and I'm sorry, but the cluster of symptoms that you're pointing to doesn't exist in America, and why aren't you done healing yet? If that is you, I just need you to know that you're not alone and there's nothing wrong with you. You're not doing it wrong. You have been done a great disservice. First, by the people with whom you were entrusted to equip you developmentally for the first 18 years of your life. And if they happened to fail you miserably, or even not so miserably, but they failed you regardless due to their own limitations, I need you to know you're not alone. You might have found your tribe here. We might be your people. If you feel like reaching out and you think that this might be a space where you can feel safe enough and warmly witnessed and acknowledged and validated, and you can experience that felt sense of connection and humanity here, and you're able for even just a moment to use your voice, check in the chat box, say hello. You're able to feel seen, heard, valued, understood, even for just a moment, as you show up however you happen to be on any given day. No need to what do they call it? Like, no need to primp or fluff. Like, just roll up as you are. We don't mind. I hope this is a space where you can feel warmly witnessed and acknowledged and validated and welcomed and seen and heard and understood and felt. I hope that you're able to find a place like this, if it's not this place, to feel safe enough, because your healing matters and it's possible. I know it is. And I'm so glad you're here. So very, very, very glad that you're here. We will be back next week for week 5, and we will begin chapter 2. And we will be beginning on page 60. Chapter 2 is titled Facilitating Relational Repair and Development. And we will make it all the way through to page, one second. We will make it through to the middle of page 74. I know that's rather ambitious because that's 14 pages, but I think we can do it. So we will start at the top of page 60 and we will go through to the middle of page 74. And that will be next week on the 9th of February. And then on the 16th of February, we will make it all the way through to the top of page 90. So that's another long week. That's another 15 pages. So we'll do about 14 pages next week, and then we will do another 15 pages the week after that. And that's on the 16th of February. And we will end on page 90 on the 16th. So I'm trying to see when we will be into chapter 3. But I think chapter 2 is actually a really long chapter because we have some vignettes. And vignettes are quite extensive, actually. So, yeah, that should give us a good basis of where we'll be. So thank you. Thank you all so much. Thank you, This Be Me. Thank you, Nadine. Thank you, Jeffrey. Hello, Mary. So glad to see you. Welcome, welcome. Thank you, Jen. Thank you, Jen. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, Brave Vanessa, for being here. I didn't get a chance to say hi to you earlier. Hello, hello. Thank you to Ninja Taco, who was here on his birthday. Thank you, John Harvey. Thank you to anyone else I didn't say hello to. I'm just seeing if I missed anyone. I feel like I missed a whole bunch of you. Thank you, Kitty. Oh, my chat box is freezing on me again. Darn it. Thank you, Karen. Oh, goodness. Who did I miss? Thank you, Lisa Marie. Oh, for some reason I can't make it any farther up. Darn it. Darn it. That's disappointing. I'm grateful that I got a chance to be here with you all, and yeah. Oh, Brave Vanessa, thank you so much for all the cake and ice cream. We're celebrating you, Ninja Taco. Hello, Natalia. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your presence. We appreciate you. We're so glad you're here. Greg, if you're listening on a replay. Craig, if you're listening on a replay. Greg and Craig. Kate, if you're listening on a replay. You were missed. I know I'm leaving out a whole bunch of people. My brain is full today. But thank you all. Oh, Hello, Greg. We were talking about you behind your back, in front of your back. I'm glad to see you. Craig, if you're listening on a replay, we're sending you hugs, always, always. And to those listening to the reading of Pete Walker's most recent book, Holistically Treating Complex PTSD, a Six-Dimensional Approach, we are so glad that you're here with us. If you ever have any availability in your schedule to meet up with us on Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern, we would absolutely warmly welcome you with open arms. We're a warm and welcoming bunch. And yeah, thank you. Thank you, Nadine. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Aww. This Mimi says, my face hurts from smiling. We have the greatest family. Thank you, family. Thank you for being my friendly family of choice. I appreciate you. And for those of you, let me put a link. I always forget. This YouTube channel is made possible by you, because you're amazing. By those who are choosing to be in our community on a daily basis, and by the Foundation for Post-Traumatic Healing and Complex Trauma Research. There's a link in the chat box and a link in the description section. And if I see you over there, I will see you. And for those I don't see over there, that's okay. I'll be back here next Monday and every Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern. And I hope in the meantime you will be extra kind and patient and gentle with yourselves, because you're worth it, as Jeffrey would say. And we'll see you soon. Good night, everyone.